Hello, hello, fans of the YouTubes, and welcome to another Erica. So, how are you? Mhm. I hope you are okay otherwise, and bye. I'm sorry.